All right, we're live.
Happy Thursday, everybody. It is a particularly happy Thursday. May 19th is the date, and we have some exciting announcements this week. Before we get to the most exciting announcement, I want to mention that I did a webinar yesterday morning that was a live upgrade from Drupal 7 to Backdrop with Srijan, which is a company that did Nate's layouts webinar after the last release. So if you guys want to watch that, there is a link in the meeting agenda today, and we'll try and post that somewhere else as well. Which was a little bit exciting, as live demos always are, where I had imported the old Drupal database into the wrong site. So I was like, and now let's run the upgrade. And then I got like a huge red error and was like, wah, wah. And then as soon as I realized I just needed to import it in the right database, I was like, okay, everything's fixed. And I went to run it again, and it was like, update free access isn't turned on. You don't have access to update it. I was like, ah. But I did manage to get that resolved. And then the update went smoothly, and there was a whole bunch of really positive feedback afterwards. A bunch of people had a bunch of great questions, and I'm really excited to see that people are looking at it and liking it, which is great. So always fun with live demos. So if you guys want to see that, there's a link in the hangout or in the agenda for today. There is also another tentatively scheduled webinar for the 21st, which will be right after the next Backdrop release 1.5. And so if anybody else wants to do that one, we are hoping to get a diversity of speakers. So we were thinking, Jack, I don't know how you feel about doing a webinar, but that could be really cool. Wes, if your front end theme goes in, which I'm assuming it will because it's already really close, that might be a good thing for you to do too. So if anyone wants to do that one, we can definitely work on it. So I'll send an email to you, Jack, if you're into it, and then we can follow up and see if timing works. If not, definitely everyone put your hats on if you want to do it, or if you want to do any one upcoming. Like I think we should try and do one after every release. So that could be pretty cool. Uh, all right, coming up this weekend, next weekend, next weekend is Drupal Camp Bratislava, and I know they still want Backdrop speakers. I'm not sure if they've found anyone yet or not. But now there's a new set of slides on upgrading from Drupal to Backdrop in the repository. So hopefully someone will be able to do something for them using some of our public slides if they don't have anything already. So that's definitely coming up here. A link to that website is drupalcs.camp if anyone wants to see that. We do still have free PHP Storm licenses for Backdrop contrib developers. I think there are 2 requests for applications in Box. Sorry, I'll try and get back to you guys today after this meeting. And let's see, if you want to make a donation to Backdrop CMS, you can do so on our website. I know we ran out of hoodies in the perfect sizes at DrupalCon. We have some here, so if you want to send a donation through our website, we'll be happy to send you a hoodie of your desired size. And that's on the contribute page. There's a PayPal donate button there. So sorry we ran out. We were not quite ready with the level of enthusiasm for Backdrop at DrupalCon, which was great. So, hooray! And then also Calabox is now in beta, so nobody needs to use the special Backdrop code in order to get in the early alpha period. So if you guys are interested in a local development environment, go ahead and try Calabox. It's supposed to be pretty easy. Let's see. July N10 conference. That is awesome. Jack, can you put that on the Backdrop website in the events section so that people can know that they can go there to hear about Backdrop?
Sure, will do. And yeah, it's just like a webinar call type thing that anyone can join in on. So folks were excited to hear more after talking a little bit about Backdrop at DrupalCon. So
Great.
cool.
Exciting. All right. So updates from the PMC. I just wanted to do a huge thank you to Jeff for totally helping at the last minute there with all of the changes for Backdrop 1.4. I know you did a great job of keeping an eye on little bug fixes and merging things in constantly as we were kind of mucking around and trying to get the huge changes in. So glad to have you as a new core committer, and really appreciate the assistance there.
Yeah, I also added in there, this is not official, but as far as shoutouts go, I think I would name Doc Wilmot MVP of this release for having solely, like, almost single-handedly pushed through installer with, like, on his own incentive, and having done dozens, not dozens, but almost a dozen pretty major, like, UX fixes for layouts, as well as, like, adding new features into layouts and making sure that moves forward. Totally awesome. It's great to have such valuable people in our community. Yay! Oh, can we just go ahead and say, like, yay, Backdrop 1.4 is out? Like, woo!
Let's not wait until that part of the
you were trying to make it wait,
now.
but
We can't contain ourselves anymore.
I mean, it's out. Yay! It's so exciting. We'll talk more about it when we get down to.
And 1.4.1.
And can everybody do like a little party action, like?
All right. Three out of 6 ain't bad.
Come on, guys. Oh boy.
Jeff's gonna put on a party hat here in a minute.
See, Jack even stopped eating chicken for a second to party. Okay. All right. Let's go into community growth. So community growth. It was a really great week in the world of Backdrop. Much to my surprise, not only did we get out a new core release 1.4, but a lot of new projects popped up this week as well. There are 262 total projects in the Backdrop Contrib group. That's 8 new projects since last meeting, which is pretty remarkable. I think that may have been Andy going through and making or updating or creating a whole bunch of themes, which is awesome. Now that we have Project Installer in Core, there's a lot more visibility on the projects that are listed on backdropcms.org. And so it's great, and it's also nice that you can now separate out, themes from layouts. I mean, I guess you could do that on backdropcms.org previously, but being built into the site, like, projects just can have a lot more visibility now. So there's 177 total projects with official releases on backdropcms.org, 7 new official projects since last meeting, 252 releases, that's 14 new releases since last week, 53 total Backdrop Contrib authors. We haven't had any new Contrib authors join the group in this past week, but we do have 13 pending applications of people that are interested, but they're going through the process of getting their first module reviewed, basically. We also have 238 total user accounts on backdropcms.org. 11 people signed up since last week. So, all in all, a really great week in the world of the Backdrop Contrib and the Backdrop community. Next up on the agenda, we finally dropped usage statistics from the agenda because we've got out ongoing issues about improving the usage statistics. I think that's great, but usage statistics have now been working for weeks now, and that's solid, which is exciting and nice to be done with that finally. So the first item on the agenda now is Drush for Backdrop. I'm not sure. We just check in every week. You can use Drush with Backdrop. We have a Drush extension. You just drop it in your home Drush directory, and then Drush can work with Backdrop as well as Drupal 7 and Drupal 8. You do need to use Drush 8. Make sure you're using that version. But we check in just to see if there's any new improvements in the world of Drush. Jeff, I'm not sure. Has anything changed in the past week or so?
Yeah, I did a major update to Drush status. Now reports Backdrop's database. It's a tiny little update. I think it said Drupal database, now it says Backdrop database.
Oh, excellent.
I was actually wondering if maybe we should take this item off the agenda now that we have Drush working. I think it was super important to check in on it every week until we got it working, but now that it's working, I feel like maybe we should just let Jeff add things to the agenda if there's something major we should talk about, but we don't necessarily need to be like, I fixed a bug.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that too.
Okay.
Until we make, brush or whatever command line tool we end up. Who knows?
Dragon brushes.
Yeah, we could call it dragon something or other. I don't know. All right, testing infrastructure. I put this on the agenda because our testing infrastructure has been going through a lot of changes recently, and we're currently investigating alternatives and options to make our testing infrastructure go faster, have fewer failures, those sorts of things. The week before release, I think, or 2 weeks before release, a lot of people were aware of the fact that our tests suddenly just broke everything. All of our tests just stopped working because Travis moved us from their legacy infrastructure, which was fast, to their new Google Compute Engine infrastructure, which is slow, like 6 times slower. And so we've been doing a lot of work to try to optimize our tests since then to try to work with these sort of slower machines. So we did some things. We split our tests. Instead of running a single thread of tests on PHP 5.3 and then another one on PHP 7, we split up them into chunks so that there's 3 test runners for PHP 5 and 3 test runners for PHP 7. And that makes it so that we fit under the 15-minute cutoff of Travis. Gore last week, right after our meeting, came up with this great idea to add profile caching to our testing script, which makes it so that instead of reinstalling Backdrop for every single test, it installs Backdrop once in each profile, the standard testing and minimal profiles, and then it just re-imports the database and config files each time and skips the install process. That had a huge impact. That cut our test time. It used to be 30 minutes per test runner. Now it's 15. So that was awesome. Like a solid halving of our test run time. Gore was taunting me in the chat that he thinks that it may be possible. I mean, if you think about how much faster Travis used to be, that our entire test used to run in 15 minutes. And by splitting them up into separate things, we then cut that down into half. And then with the profile caching, we cut it in half again. We're starting to look at like test run times where we could get all our entire test suite running in like 4 or 5 minutes. Although Gore is taunting me saying that he thinks it's possible to do it in 2. So if that happens, everyone will be very impressed. Okay, let's see. So testing infrastructure, we're working on looking at alternatives there. We're looking into alternative providers other than Travis. I've reached out to Travis to see if we get more test runners. They haven't responded. But yeah, we're looking for alternatives to speed up that part of our processes. All right, Jen, I'll turn it over to you to talk about backdropcms.org.
Sure. So let's see. I think the biggest thing on my list is to figure out what we're going to do with forums. I did a bunch of analysis recently on all of the forum software that's out there, and also took a look at like how WordPress handles forums. And I think that there's a way that we can do it ourselves on backdropcms.org that will be a place for our existing members to communicate. That'll be kind of the right tool. I know it's something we've been talking about for a really long time, and we're like, we don't want to build and support a forum. That's crazy. There's all these other forum solutions, but none of them are really working for us, and it is becoming more necessary for people who are new to Backdrop to have a place to go and ask questions. So I think we should set it up. I'm gonna kind of come up with a rough idea of how to do it. I'm going to post it in the issue, and I'd love to get feedback from Clonos. I know you feel really strongly about it. DocBoneMont does too, just to see if that's something that would work. And if so, that's the next feature I'd like to focus on for backdropcms.org. What we are working on right now, we've got a showcase. Eric is working on setting up a content type for us for that. We're talking to Darius about getting a design done for it as well, so hopefully we'll be able to get that built pretty shortly. And then I think Gore also had some ideas about how to work on single sign-on with GitHub for users as well. So I think we've got a lot on our plate in terms of what we want to do with the website that's kind of been on hold because we've been working on the last release. So hopefully now we'll be able to make some progress on that as well. So that's kind of what we're at in terms of new features. We have a bunch of old features that could use some updates. I did move the usage statistics bullet down here because now that we are actually tracking usage statistics, we need to get them showing up on the website. I did notice that if you use Project Browser, you can get usage statistics for modules that way, which is nice. But I'd love to get it actually visible on the site, on the project pages, and then maybe if we could also figure out how or where to put in a block for usage on Backdrop CMS itself, so that we could be a little more public with that rather than have it buried on the Backdrop page, which I'm not sure many people will actually make it to anyway. So thoughts and feedback on that would be useful as well. And then we have updates that we need for our modules, themes, and layouts pages. We have a design for the Find Themes page. We don't yet have a design for the Find Layouts page, but we might be able to make one based on modules and or themes. And then we also have a bunch of details for the project pages themselves that just haven't been implemented because we haven't had parts of the site to display in the theme. So we need to either build views for them with views integration, or we need to figure out how to get them to show up on the node pages themselves. There's also a couple of more minor kind of design review items, like if we can follow up on the views announcements section, the event listing, and the service provider section. There's just a bunch of low-hanging fruit there. Like, I would love to do a special page for hosting providers that's different from all of the other service provider listings. And the way it's set up right now, it's using like taxonomy. You can filter by a specific service that somebody offers, but we don't have any designs for those service-specific pages. So I think if we could do one kind of generally for every service, then it would work to have one like an override of that specific for hosting so that you could find out like what kind of hosting is offered. So we just need a little thought there on how to do that, and maybe a little theming once we get it done. So that's something, Jack, if you were interested in working on, all the structure's already there, just kind of we have to figure out what to do with it. So that would be a good thing to work on. And then once we get designs for the showcase section, we could also get some help building out the views there that make that work. And then we'll also need to figure out what the heck we're doing with forums. Once we have a plan, we can build those too. But I think getting kind of a plan in place first and making sure it's something we can manage both technically but also in terms of making sure people who have questions get answers, I think it will be good as well. So that's where we are with the website. Big dreams. And then we have upcoming news and announcements. We've got a lot of great news we need to disseminate to people this week. So obviously, Nate, you put up a post about Backdrop 1.4 being out, which is good. So I think that covers our news post for this week. But we have a bunch of other kind of good stuff we want to tell people out. Nate started doing his benchmarking because he was so excited about Backdrop this week. So there's a link in the agenda if you guys want to see a preview of what he's been working on. So that blog post may be ready next week. You think that's good timing for that? I think you're still muted.
Yeah, we've got a lot of things to cover, but I don't know. I wonder if, I don't know. I want to publish more than one thing a week, but I'm not sure that I can keep up that momentum.
Well, you want to publish more than one thing this week. I'm not sure if we need to publish more than one thing every week, but I think that's also fine. I mean, our announcement came out on Monday, right? Or Tuesday? It was early. It was whenever that release was. Tuesday?
Yeah, actually.
Yesterday?
Actually, it just came out yesterday.
Oh, well, then maybe we shouldn't do one today. But we could do one tomorrow. If you wanted to do your benchmarking one tomorrow. But then we also have this blog post we want to write that's like a welcome Jeff to being a core committer one, and just kind of talk more generally about expanding our decision-making structure, like expanding the PMC, expanding core committers, like just trying to make sure that all of the people who are empowered to do things are adequate for the number of people who want things done. That's really long-winded way of saying that.
You know what else is hot right now is I don't know how this happened, but after DrupalCon, the talk of putting Drupal.org onto GitHub kind of reignited again, and the Drupal Association posted this huge blog post about like what it would take to move Drupal.org to GitHub. And I was thinking I was going to post a comment saying, hey, we're kind of already doing that. But then I thought, no, that would be a way better blog post if we just documented how our processes work, like on GitHub, because I think a lot of people would be really fascinated by that, especially because Drupal.org considering what would it look like, and it's like, well, we already have something that is really interesting, and it would help to document just how we work in general. So
that's fantastic. I think that's a great idea too. And then Klonos just said he's got time for a post this week as well, something like what motivated me to become a contributor. I think that would be really valuable too. But I don't want all of these the same week because I know that 3 weeks from now we're going to be like, does anyone have anything to say? So how about everybody who has time this week to write something and wants to write something, write it, and we'll just figure out when to publish them. So anyone write a note, just leave it unpublished, and then that way we'll have a backlog of content that's ready to go. Great, Laura's got one too. Everybody has a blog post. That's fantastic. I mean, I think that's really great. That makes me really happy. So everybody's excited. Everybody should say whatever they want. And I think that if we need to do 2 a week because we have a bunch of news, that's totally fine. But maybe we'll have to figure out which one goes tomorrow. Anyone want to thumb wrestle over it? Or next week, if nobody wants it to go up tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if I'll get one out tomorrow, but I'll keep working on things.
Okay. All right, yeah. Well, then let's say this week is covered because we did the new release yesterday. So let's let everybody revel in the wonder that is Backdrop 1.4. And then if we want to do a blog post next week, that would be fantastic. So everybody write your blog post, and whoever actually does it will get their post up next week. Everybody wants to write a blog post. Nobody actually is writing a blog post. Okay. No pressure, but I appreciate everyone's enthusiasm. All right, so we also want to send a newsletter that lets everybody know about Backdrop 1.4. I think I'll probably draft that. I'll pull a lot of the content from Nate's release post. If anyone has anything else we should add into the newsletter, I'm happy to do that. Nothing urgent? Okay. I'll probably send a draft of that tonight. If anyone wants to review it, let me know, and I can drop you into the review list. And then we'll try and get that out tomorrow. All right, on to the good stuff. Nate, you want to take away the code party?
Yeah, so there's a big line in here that says 1.4 is out, party, woo! But we kind of already did the party thing. Couldn't hold it in. Thanks, Wes. So yeah, there's a news post on backdropcms.org outlining all the features in 1.4. Though the observers out there may have also noticed that not only did 1.4 come out, but 1.4.1 came out, and then promptly after that 1.4.2 came out. There was a Git kerfuffle where a commit that was supposed to be in .1 didn't end up in .1, and so then we needed to make .2. So that's the way it goes sometimes. I also wanted to say that Pantheon is still running the latest version of 1.3.x. We'll probably be pushing out to Pantheon the 1.4 release in the next week. We're just kind of like to get all of the first wave of fixes in before pushing that out to like a mass audience like that. So let's see. So the next release, 1.5. 1.5. We now have a whole 4 more months of development time to get done some more things in our next release. It's interesting to note right now we don't have any new items for 1.5. It's really all of the items that just didn't get into 1.4, which includes rich text editor improvements, which is an ongoing thing, references module, and the front-end theme. And so the front-end theme obviously is really close, maybe not obviously. It almost could have gotten in had we had another week. It might have. So I would love to see that being put in, and I think with such a large window, I think we can probably proceed with confidence, making it the default theme for the next several months, and then working out the kinks as we have, as we encounter them during this development cycle. I would like to kind of figure out if we should have a new focus for this release. I'd kind of been tossing around the idea of focusing on the editorial experience this release as a particular item, because I know like improving the rich text editor has been on our agenda ever since there has been a rich text editor. And I think that if we take a look at our overall editing experience, I guess references kind of fits into that too. You could twist it like that. The front end theme totally doesn't, though. As far as like having a generic release concept, but I don't think that that's any problem. Anybody have any input on that? I would be curious to hear what other people have to say.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, likewise, actually, just now digging into building a couple of sites and like putting up experimental content and stuff like that. I think it's really good, but also some of the improvements you mentioned would be really great. So.
Yeah. Okay. Wes, did you want to say something as well?
I might have missed a question because I got caught up in conversation. I asked backend developers at Lullabot how they might do something that I want to do, which might happen to be for the color module and backdrop. But anyway, I want to update that stupid thing. I tried to get it to work with Basis. I couldn't even figure out how to get it working.
Color module is truly a monster.
I suggest that we burn it with fire.
Yeah,
and then just let individual themes provide the settings for changing the color if they want to.
Yeah,
Okay.
or just provide like a subset of like, here's 4 style sheets.
Here's what I want to do. I want the site builder to be able to provide 1 to 3 colors that represent their brand, and I want to be able to extrapolate that into every color I need for the theme, which the color module doesn't support at all, and I think is the ideal user experience. Like you can say, oh, my site, it just needs to be green, St. Patty's Day, whatever. Or you can say, hey, my brand colors are blue, gold, and whatever. And then giving the ability to say, okay, all the colors you auto-generated, some of them weren't good, and like you maybe do an advanced checkbox and tweak a couple and leave the rest, or you can specify every single one from scratch if you want. That's what I would like to do, and I would like to have it. Basically, I want to be able to write a PHP template that outputs a CSS file. So I don't want to include this in the HTML, and I need logic. I need color functions. I can write the functions. I just need the ability to have functions, basically. Darken, lighten, saturate, desaturate. How bright or dark is this color? That kind of stuff. So a lot of this stuff I can do on my own. The biggest thing is like, how on earth do I make PHP spit out a CSS file and actually have that work and not do it some weird hacky way that a front-ender would do?
Don't do that.
Yeah. So that's probably the biggest issue. Everything else I could do on my own. But so yeah, I'm making a ticket right now.
Taking a step back here, should we be looking at creating a new module in Contrib that we can replace color module with? Or is this like what, like I would love to see color module die. I would love to see it removed from core, but I feel like we can't do much to it in the 1.x cycle, but if we develop something in Contrib, we could remove it in 2.
But if basis is going to be in core, it can't really depend on something in Contrib.
It can't depend on something in Contrib, but if it didn't depend on it and like shipped with a stock set of colors, you could say, you know, we could put a code in there that's like, I know the dogs are cute.
Yeah.
if you could put something in there that's like for changing colors, install the whatever module.
Okay, I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, that might be a good workaround.
Okay. Yeah, I have no love for the.
There also
color
might
module.
already be a smarter color tool thing in Drupal Contrib too that we could port. I don't know. I haven't looked at what's out there, but there, I mean, could at least be a really good starting point. So. And I know back in the day, I used to actually write CSS files in PHP, and I don't know if that was like a server setting where you had to tell the server to process
the
file or something.
File headers, something.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah, no idea. So anyway, would love help on that.
Okay.
And I will post a link to the issue I made when I made it.
Okay, cool.
Other than that, I had a couple. Real quick on Basis. I moved everything that we worked on in 1.4. We worked on in a separate repo. Moved it back into Contrib. So right now, Basis in Contrib land is all up to date, and I still have issues in there. Some of them I would like help with. If anyone wants to chip in, ones that don't say need help, I would still love help on. It's just the ones I marked, I could use some help because I'm a little out of my depth. So yeah, if anyone wants to chip in, that would be awesome. And then there's also some default backdrop config I'd like to get changed when we get Basis in, and we can talk about what that means later. Ta-da.
Cool. Wes, you sound busy.
All right.
Where are we?
Take it away, Jen. We're at UX improvements.
Oh. Well, I just wanted to say that I also second your idea, Nate, of doing an editorial experience release. I think all the stuff that we want to get into, it kind of fits right in there, even the new front-end theme. And I think that'll help motivate us to get like the WYSIWYG editor stuff cleaned up and some of the other UI bits. I feel like kind of the last release ended up being sort of a focus on site builder experience unintentionally. So I think it feels good. It's like we did general UX, then we did specific site builder, now we're doing specific editor, and then maybe when we do the next one, it will be like developer experience or something. If we can get all those bases covered, I think we'll be winning. So that's good.
Cool.
So yeah, there are a ton of issues tagged with UX. Depending on how important those are and the scope of change, we can probably get those in whenever people are motivated to work on them. There's also a bunch of issues tagged with DX. Those are ones that we think would make developing for Backdrop better. Same thing there. If we can get a backwards compatibility layer in, those can go in whenever. If they require API change, we might have to push them to 2. But there's definitely some wins to be had there as well. And every Thursday, we like to work together on Backdrop stuff. Today is Thursday, so today, after this meeting, we'll all be meeting in Gitter or IRC, or more importantly, the GitHub issue queue, and trying to knock out some of these exciting new ideas we have about things to do with Backdrop 1.5. I'll also probably be cleaning up some little issues with Backdrop 1.4 as they come out. But yeah, and hopefully we'll have another place to chat soon on our own website, so that should be fun. Or not necessarily chat, but forumize, whatever it's called. For people who are interested in learning more about Backdrop, we've got a bunch of upcoming events listed on the backdropcms.org website. Looks like next up we have CiviCon. We've been requested to attend. We're going to be speaking on Backdrop. I think there's a bunch of other people who are also going to be motivated in speaking on Backdrop, which will be really great. That will be in Fort Collins, Colorado, June 2nd through 3rd. After that, looks like immediately after that, Twin Cities Drupal Camp is in Minneapolis. We've been invited to do a Backdrop training there, which I think will be fantastic. We've also been invited to do a Backdrop training at DrupalCorn, and we are likely to be doing a Backdrop training as well as a Backdrop summit at BADCamp. So we've got a lot of Drupal camps with Backdrop training and support coming up this summer, entering into Drupal camp season here. So that's super exciting. And then we also have Drupal South, which is October 27th and 28th, and DEF CONF Panama, November 10th and 12th. So we will do, this is actually a good question. So Gregory just asked when we're going to be doing our own Backdrop Con. I was also asked that a lot at DrupalCon. And I think that the answer to that question is as soon as Drupal 7 is no longer relevant, right? If you go to a Drupal camp and all of the talks are on Drupal 8 and nobody there has a Drupal 7 site and we're talking language doesn't make any sense to anyone, it won't make any sense to have Backdrop and Drupal events be together. And right now, it still makes a lot of sense because we're all still talking the same language and people are still making decisions, and our target audience right now is people with Drupal sites. So we're of course going to be branching out from Drupal conferences. We're not only doing Drupal conferences, we're doing open source conferences, tech conferences, nonprofit conferences, things like CiviCon, right? Like, we're branching out now, but there will be a point where it doesn't make any sense at all for us to go to a Drupal event. And at that point, we'll need to have our own alternative event. We can have a CiviCon then, or a Backdrop Con then. I think drop camps we can do whenever, like based on whatever a local community wants to do, we can run one, and that'll be dependent on the demand. So I would say, yeah, we don't really have a timeline, but I think in general that's what we're looking at. If somebody wants to do a camp and there's 5 people that want to have it, sure, throw one, we'll support you however we can. So for the community, by the community, whatever the community wants. All right, let's see. It is almost June. In June, there will be a new book coming out for Backdrop called Beginning Backdrop. Hopefully it'll be June 22nd on A-Press, which is super exciting. Anybody who's working on upgrading their Drupal site to Backdrop, there's also a book out for that called Migrating from Drupal to Backdrop, also available now. Good resources to have. I have the book. It's super small. The upgrading book, which is great, and I don't have it with me. I usually show it off. But yeah, people are super excited. We showed that off at DrupalCon, and they were like, this book is really tiny. And we're like, that's the point. It should be easy. So that's it. That's it for the agenda today. Does anybody have anything you want to talk about? More partying? No? There we go. Yay!
As far as the local camps, maybe you can roll that into how you think about forums. You know how Drupal.org facilitates having nodes for your camp, so it's a centralized place where people can be aware of the existence of the camp and possibly see if there's momentum to physically meet or just virtually meet or something. So maybe that's something to think about.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. The groups.drupal.org site is an organic group site that just lets anyone create any group. And I was thinking that that might be a little much to set up already, but we can definitely set up a forum that's called something like, you know, local meetups or community or whatever, and just have people kind of self-organize in there and say like, hey, in the Bay Area, does anyone want to do whatever? Hey, I'm in Western Mass, does anyone want to do whatever? And if it starts to look like we have groups forming, at that point we could definitely set up some kind of another tool that would help facilitate those people. Or if everybody wants to use Meetup or something, we could, you know, tell people to use Meetups or whatever it is people want to do. So let's not build it yet, but facilitate as much as possible. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Well, hey, Jen, it's Mike. I just want to help out a bit more maybe with the marketing and working on the website in terms of actually trying to target the individual people that we're trying to get to use and adopt Backdrop, and try to break that out a little more. I mean, you've been doing most of the website coordination, but I want to help out, so
Sure.
maybe we can talk at some point.
Yep. I definitely think we haven't had enough of a focus on marketing. We had a little bit of a push last year and then kind of lost momentum on it. But any help we can get, certainly, if you have new ideas, throw them in the issue queue. If you want to actually build things, go ahead and grab a clone of the code base and we can get you going on whatever you want. So, or if you need access to content, well, yeah, let's talk about it and make sure you can do what you need. Anyone have anything else? No. All right. Let's go forth and conquer.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining.